I'm going to show you an affordable way to set up your digital art space to make you the most productive when you're creating your comics and art. I've spent a few years experimenting with different desk setups myself, and I finally managed to find one that has helped me throughout my university degree in comics, as well as making the comics that I'm currently working on. And I'm more productive now than I've ever been. In this video, I'll be showing you what you need, where you can buy the things from, and how much it's all going to cost. Oh, and it doesn't matter if you're a beginner and you don't need a studio to fit all of this in. I'll show you where I put my stuff, and it's in the corner of my living room. It's literally right there. So you're probably one of three people. You have either never bought a graphics tablet before, you're using an old graphics tablet that you want to upgrade, or you've got a graphics tablet that you absolutely love. If you're that third person, then skip ahead because you don't need this. But if you're either of the first two people, then I recommend the Cintiq. I have the 16-inch Cintiq, and if you're serious about digital art, then it's well worth the investment. At the time of this recording, it will set you back at about £700. That's a lot of guacamole, but if you take care of it, then it should last you years and years. Drawing directly on the screen gives you the most accuracy, and it will make creating digital art just a lot more comfortable. Also, it can act as a monitor, which is really handy when you want your references on one screen and your canvas on the other. But what's better than two monitors? Three. I have these two Acer monitors, and they're quite old at this point. It's probably worth upgrading to more modern monitors, and I will be upgrading these at some point, but if you've just dropped £700 on a Cintiq, you may not have that many options. In my experience of using these, they do the job just fine. It's more about just having that extra real estate so that you can have references, canvas, and in my case, a comic script on all three monitors. You can get similar monitors for around £80, but honestly, just a refurbished one that you can get for cheap will probably be just fine. But as great as this initial setup is, it's not exactly what I'd call portable. So for that, I use the iPad with pencil. This is a Generation 8 iPad, came out in 2019. It's not the iPad Pro. I've got friends who've got the iPad Pro and they really like it for illustration, but it's also really, really expensive, and this was dear enough. And considering I only really sketch on this or do studies, I just don't think it's worth paying ludicrous sums for an iPad Pro when I don't really need it. And you can get one of these renewed for about 170 quid, so it's actually quite reasonable. But whichever one you decide to get, you need to get Procreate for it as well. And the good news is Procreate is actually really cheap. If I factor in this little case thing that I bought for my iPad, the Apple Pencil and the Procreate, all in all, I spent 300 quid. But if you get a refurbished one, then you'll spend a lot less than me. Now, the next load of items are much, much more affordable and probably not what you'd expect. Now, you may not think that you need that much physical storage as a digital artist, but it really, really helps. Right next to me, I have this 3-drawer side table that I store light boxes, paper, card-backed envelopes, gear for filming videos, and normal art tools too. The fact that it's right next to me as well is really helpful because it means that I don't have to actually get up and go anywhere else. I can just turn and it's there. I also have these little drawers up here which are really useful for more art stuff, and it's just nice and convenient. Another low cost but high impact item is this plant. No, really. Believe it or not, this actually does make a difference. I know it might not seem like much, but having a plant, even a fake one, can improve your mood and your productivity. This one is real, and actually it needs watering quite badly. Hold on. Oh, I spilled water on myself. Yeah, don't water that near your computer because you might be an idiot, like me. And now I'm going to include something that I do not recommend. This chair. This bloody chair. I've had it for almost 10 years and it's horrible. Do not get my chair. This is number one on my list of upgrades because, well, look at the state of it. I don't actually have a recommendation for a chair because I haven't bought one for, well, almost 10 years. But I will say that if you get a chair that is cheap and that doesn't help your posture, then you will regret it. My back constantly aches and the chair does not help at all. I hate that chair. But speaking of taking care of yourself, have you ever been so focused on what you're doing that you kind of forget to drink? And then you realize that you're dying of thirst, but you don't want to get up and move away from the computer because you're in the zone. Well, get a water bottle, a big water bottle. I have a few of these size water bottles and they're massive, and I put them right behind me. And the reason they're behind me is because, like, when I'm watering the plant, when I'm watering myself, I probably will spill some. I am that clumsy. So for me, keeping water away from electricity is pretty important. And because it's only just behind me, then I only need to turn to get a drink and not die of thirst. So it works quite well. I like this one the most. It's massive and it's glass, which is nice for the environment. So I get to feel a bit better about myself as well at the same time, and hydrated. Now, if you thought the plant suggestion was weird, then this next one is probably going to seem quite strange as well. It might not be relevant for everyone, but the lights in my living room look like this, and they shine directly on the Cintiq, which means sometimes I get a glare from the light and it's really distracting. So I got this ring light because it's slim and fits between my two monitors, and when it's dark I switch it on and there's no glare on the Cintiq, and you can change the colors a bit, which is nice. Now, before I start working on my comic or editing a video or whatever it is I'm doing, I like to set up my workspace first. That means I have my references on one monitor, my script on another, my canvas on the Cintiq. And if I start moving these windows around, then I'll spend more time organizing my workspace and less time creating. So to solve that, I got a little sketchbook that sits on my desk right next to me. You know, when you're just drawing and sometimes your mind wanders and you think of a really good idea for something else? Well, instead of moving windows and typing it down, you can just write it in your sketchbook and come back to it later. Also, let's face it, there are going to be like Windows updates, computer crashes, lag, all those things that are going to slow you down. So while you're waiting for your computer to catch up, you can just sketch in this. It's quite nice. And it's portable as well. And when I'm not making notes or sketches in here, I'm using apps like Notion and Google Calendar, which are incredible to use, particularly when you're planning out your comic projects. But probably the most useful of these things is not an app at all, it's a whiteboard. I bought some black tape to separate this out into the different days of the week, and I split out my days into thirds, and I'll just write what I need to do on that whiteboard. It keeps me in check, it's right next to me, so I've got constant reminders of what I need to do, and the big plus is that it's really, really satisfying to tick things off. As you can see, if you were to buy all of these things, then it's over £1,000. I'll work out the maths when I'm editing this and I'll put it there to exactly how much you're going to be spending if you buy it all. Now, you don't have to buy them all at all, you don't have to buy any of these. In fact, it's what's worked for me, it might not work for you. But even if you were to buy every single thing I've listed in this video, it won't make you a more productive artist, particularly for comics, unless you plan it properly. And in this video, I show you how to do that.